online, Brody A. Miller. Brody Miller?
It is Brody A. Miller.
Why don't we just ask him?
It's Brody A. Miller on Twitter, correct?
That is correct.
His middle name is Alphonse.
That can't be true.
That's 100% correct.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
It is. I kind of like it. Learn something new every day. Brody, what'd you learn about LSU last Saturday?
Well, I don't know if I learned anything new about them literally on a football field. I guess we just learned that, just through all the tests and all that, they really are this good. They've been as tested as anybody, but the one measure, as everybody knows, is can you beat Bama? None of it matters if you have another 29-0 embarrassment. Now we officially know LSU is the number one team in the country.
How do you interpret the latest college football rankings and kind of projecting going forward? I guess I'll just ask you this way. Would Bama get in over a one-loss conference champion?
I mean, they're setting it up that it really looks like it, but they've also kind of told us through 2 weeks that they're not afraid to jump somebody based off a big win. So I guess you could look at it either way. You could say, oh, wow, they're setting it up right now so that if Georgia loses the SEC title game, Bama slides into that 4th spot. But you could also look at it as, okay, say Georgia loses and Bama's right there, but then the winner of that Pac-12 title game, if they're 12-1, for example, maybe they would jump because now they have those big wins they need. So that it could definitely be setting up for that. It could be, I don't think you can ever rule out somebody like, a Baylor keep on winning, for example. But, you got to be a little worried that they actually might be thinking Alabama's right there as the 4 team.
Most underrated or under-talked about performance from Saturday? Because obviously Clyde, Burrow, we've discussed these things at length.
I think we talked about it on the show. I think Kristian Fulton would be pretty high up there. I think, because he didn't have some highlight play or anything, but he completely shut down his matchup the entire game. We saw what Devonta Smith was able to do pretty consistently on Derek Stingley, but Kristian Fulton, and I forget the stat, but I think in his 2 games against Alabama's 2 of 7 targeting him, and it's even crazier that they've only targeted him 7 times. So I think Kristian Fulton's somebody that definitely comes to mind there. And then the other one would be, and the Advocate just wrote about him this morning, so maybe not too unnoticed, but Chaisson, somebody who hasn't been the pass rush sack leader that everyone expected him to be this year, but he has been a force in run protection and drawing attention on pass rushes and all those things this year. And I think Saturday, as Ed Orgeron said, was his best game, and with 3.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, and Chaisson tweeting, what's today's date? Is it the 13th? Okay, so this is actually 3 days ago. He tweeted, stop labeling me a pass rusher. I'm more than that. I'm a playmaker.
Sack guru.
Yeah, okay, you know what? Hey, Brody, chill out, okay? That's not the point I was trying to make. Looking forward to Saturday against Ole Miss. You're going to have some absences on that O-line, including it looks like probably your 2 offensive tackles. How much does it affect this team? And, personnel-wise, how do they fill those gaps?
It's always relative, right? Because, even with some clear issues, you assume are going to be perfectly fine against Ole Miss. But that's a real problem. That's not – this isn't a very good Ole Miss team, but it's a feisty defense. This isn't your normal Ole Miss. They have a really interesting defense. They got some good guys on the front, front 7. Benito Jones comes to mind. They got some good edge rushers and whatnot. It's not exactly, a complete walkover. And, okay, so you would assume, under the indication that it seems Sadiq Charles might, have another coach's decision this week, and then, you don't have Dare Rosenthal and, you don't have Austin Deculus, it seems pretty safe to say your starting tackles will be some combination of Adrian McGee and Bedard Traore. Now, Adrian McGee, I think you generally trust to move around. He can hold his own and whatnot, but he doesn't have many reps to tackle this season. And Bedard Traore, there's a reason he's become basically the 4th tackle on the depth chart. He clearly fell down quite a bit. And granted, it's better than maybe 2 years ago when your backup was somebody who has no experience. At least he's somebody with college starts and a senior knows what he's doing. But that's a little interesting. I'm definitely interested to see what Ole Miss does to attack that.
Well, the problem is, Brody, Ole Miss's pass defense is currently dead last in the SEC, giving up 274 yards a game. Does Burrow throw for 500?
I don't like looking at yardage. I do not like looking at yardage as a key category. I'm not claiming it's a great pass defense by any means.
All right, let's look at QB rating. They are 11th in the conference, allowing a 134 QB rating.
I look at things like success rate, efficiency, explosiveness. I don't have their SEC ranks, but they're 37th in the country in stopping passing explosiveness, 53rd in stopping efficiency. I mean, I'm not saying like this is a great pass defense.
They're
but
11th in yards
last-
per attempt. They're giving up 7.3 yards per attempt. 11th in the
All right,
SEC.
man. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong, but I just don't see a terrible defense here.
I mean, I think that it's odd because I do agree that the defense has outperformed expectations. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe what they do well. I think LSU is. I think LSU is primed to take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, I mean LSU is going to probably be perfectly fine. I mean, like we said, yeah, they have like a half decent pass rush or things like that, but Burrow can have. These conversations almost become silly because we've seen LSU play Auburn's defense, Florida's defense, Alabama's defense. I mean, so I have a gut feeling that even with backup tackles, we'll still put up 45, 48, 50 points.
I told you were an analytics guy, Brody.
I like to dabble in the analytic arts.
What else do you see? And let's jump way forward. Okay, let's jump all the way forward to the potential heavyweight matchup between LSU and Georgia. And let's talk about that Georgia defense, all the ones you just rattled off. Is that Georgia defense? You keep saying you will not face a better D-line than Auburn and all these other things, better pass defense than Alabama. Where does Georgia fall into that mix?
Yeah, it is really crazy that, I mean, LSU is going to play 3 of the 5 or 6 best front sevens in football this season, assuming they play Georgia. I mean, this Georgia defense is the real deal. They are the number 2 defense in the country according to SP+. I mean, and you look at some. Granted, they haven't played too many juggernaut offenses, but they held Notre Dame to 17. Now they shut out Kentucky, and they have a guy like Lynn Bowden. It's not a great offense, but they got some explosiveness. They held Florida to 17. They shut out Missouri. I mean, it is a elite defense. There's a lot of problems offensively there, but I mean that defensive front, that run defense, that's going to be as good as any, which I feel like is getting exhausting because I feel like we say that every single week, whoever LSU faces.
It's crazy. They've passed every test thus far.
Brody, what a difference.
Oh, go on.
No, go ahead. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, when you're putting together the stats with Burrow and all these things, I know Texas fell off and whatnot, but it's just bizarre. Can you really think of another team where essentially half of their football games have been top 10 matchups this season? I just really can't think of much precedent for that.
What do you think last week's performance did for Cade York, for himself mentally, and for the coaching staff?
I think it's a big win. Obviously you asked about it Monday at the press conference. I think it's big because the big thing with Cade York is just getting confidence and getting normalcy and just a general maturation process. I mean, we talk to Zach Von Rosenberg almost every other week, and he's kind of one of the captains of that special teams unit, and he's his holder. And he keeps repeating to us, guys, this is not a talent thing. This is not a kicking mechanics thing. This is none of that. He's going to be one of the best kickers who ever came to LSU. It's purely just a natural maturation that needs to happen with a kicker who's 18 years old kicking on some of these levels. And I mean, I'm not going to say he's got it all fixed or anything like that, but I think that's a big step. Okay, that now on a big stage, you've done it again. And I think now he can maybe that's a sign that he's starting to figure out that routine and whatnot.
Brody, you have an article on Adrian McGee that just went up 2 hours ago. Is the most shocking thing you've ever heard that Adrian McGee was 128 pounds in kindergarten?
I think that I asked
128 pounds in kindergarten.
And I look and I'm like, okay, what's the average? Because I mean, I'm not a dad. I don't know what the reference point is here. The average is 47 pounds.
What?
I mean, I can't wrap my head around that.
I know that was. I asked the mom, Nikki McGee, where's this jokester come from? And she said he's like, and it almost makes sense that he was so big his entire childhood that he couldn't have any fun because if he touched somebody, and this is her quote, that touch would send somebody through a wall. And so he was just in trouble all the time. So basically the way she put it is once he got older and he could be a normal person, he's like, all right, I'm going to have my fun now. And he is the biggest jokester on this football team, I think.
128 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a great article, and it also has a gift that remember the Clyde Edwards-Helaire horns down celebration? Yeah. What is not seen, he has a gif of it here. I'd never seen this. Adrian McGee goes galloping into the end zone doing an imaginary lasso in Texas against the law. It's incredible.
I know. That was the moment I think I realized I want to write about Adrian McGee, but honestly, if I'm being really honest with you, I didn't think he'd keep the starting job, so it's like, I can't really write about that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this guy is just I mean this in a very a way of admiration. He's a goon in every sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like he is just. There's so many examples of this too. There's the Tyrion Davis-Price run. If you look at it, his touchdown run against Florida, where McGee is chasing him down the field, like waving his arms like an airplane, like down the field. I mean, there. And then there's the one, I think last year, I want to say it was the Ole Miss game. They got them to jump off sides, and he hits a nene for the first down. I mean, he's just – and that's the whole story of him is he is just, like, constantly doesn't know how to turn it off. He's just always joking. And Lloyd Cushenberry, like, whenever I bring it up, he kind of gets mad at me because he's just like, man, I have to tell him to chill every single practice because he's just – like, he's squirting people with water bottles. He's throwing pads around. He unties people's shoelaces during water breaks and whatnot. He is just, like – your prototypical goon.
Hold that
128
podcast. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Brody, we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thanks, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Take care.
All right,
Close it
Brody.
out next.